Do I really want to do this? Yeah, I do. Hi-yo! I definitely feel like this video has been a long time coming, and yeah, I'm finally ready to spill the beans. Yeah, to spill the beans. Excuse my shiny face and slightly crusty voice. It's been a slightly difficult past few weeks for me, and yeah, just quite frankly haven't like sat down and really planned out this video or what I'm going to say, so you'll just have to like bear with me. I've got my emotional support toy with me. His name is Brockhampton, but Brock for short because he's a broccoli. And yeah, I'm just gonna give it lots of squeezes and hugs and basically talk about something that I find a little bit difficult. Yeah, I do. Okay. So yeah, today I'm going to talk about the way in which Korea has affected my mental health. And this is yeah, it's just really difficult. But I did say that I'm taking a hiatus from YouTube and that I wanted to come back with some really more authentic, truthful and honest content. I feel like a lot of my content in the past, it's not been a lie, but it also just hasn't been 100%. It hasn't been 100% representative of what I have truly been going through and what's been going on in my life. I've basically been trying to show the highlight reel of my life, the good parts, the fun parts, the funny parts, and not talking about the truth. And I have had a few videos where I've talked a little bit about some of the difficulties I faced in Korea, but I've always kind of ended it by trying to be positive. And you know, life is about taking the good with the bad. But yeah, if I'm being 100% honest, there's a lot more to it than that. So I'm just gonna get into it. I figured that if I explain to you what's been going on, where I'm at in my life right now, that would probably give a bit more context to a lot of the content I've got planned, and also just to fill you in and give you some content while I'm working on the new good stuff. So yeah, let's just begin. Okay, where do we begin? I think I'm gonna start with culture. So I came to Korea really bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, quite naive and very idealistic. I had done a lot of research about Korea before, and I was aware that it was a really different culture to the UK, which is where I'm from, and that it was going to take some adjusting. So for example, in Korea, you don't tend to like question things, you don't tend to be direct, you can't be very blunt, and I found that difficult because I am from a society where you are able to question things. I do think people aren't as blunt in the UK. I'm quite a naturally blunt person. I'm very direct, that's the word I prefer, is direct. And yeah, it does sometimes cause friction even when back home, so I knew that was something I was going to have to work on. But as for not being able to question things, that was something that was just completely alien to me. So for example, like let's say you have a contract in Korea and that contract says you should have certain amenities in your apartment as part of your negotiations, like let's say you should have a bed, and then you get to your new job and they haven't provided you with what the contract says they're going to provide you with. Back home, you could go and speak to someone, and usually it would be handled, and you know, nobody would be offended by you coming and broaching that subject with them, because they recognize that that's an agreement between you and them, and that's for them to hold up their part of the agreement. But in Korea it doesn't work like that. It's almost like a taboo to speak up for yourself and say, hey, I don't want to sleep on the floor. Hey, I feel like you should be giving me this, you know, $300 because it's what you owe me. No, it's almost considered offensive, and it can cause a bit of an issue. And so when I was in my first role in Korea, so this was literally the first job I did when I got to Korea, I did go for a year accepting a lot of things that I shouldn't have had to accept. Like, just morally speaking, if you agree to bring someone to your country to do a job and you agree that they should have a certain living condition and they don't have it, morally it should be wrong for you to make them live that way. But in Korea, it's almost like the culture takes precedent over what's right, and that was really difficult. But I didn't want to leave Korea and assume that that's the way the whole country is. And even now, even though I'm having similar issues, I still don't want to say everyone's like that, because not everyone is. But I do think that it gives leeway for people to be exploited. And that's really difficult. And I think that if you have someone who does have morals, as an employer, then it's going to be really good for you, because they won't mind handling the situation. But it does make it really easy for people to do bad things, for people who don't have good intentions to basically continue to screw people over, and that's really difficult for me. So I'm trying to basically like talk about my situation without giving out loads and loads of information, because obviously I'm still in Korea and I don't know exactly when I'm leaving yet, but you know, I would like to not get sued, but vaguely speaking, there's just been a lot of like exploitation, and there's been a lot of like gaslighting. So like when you ask, hey, there's this thing that you agreed to that you haven't given to me, could I please have it? You then get told that you're essentially like a really horrible person for asking. And it doesn't matter in what terms you ask. It doesn't matter if you ask really softly. It doesn't matter if you ask over a beer. It doesn't matter if you ask in the office. It doesn't matter if you ask in your classroom. It doesn't matter if you ask via text. You are a horrible person for asking, and you are way too blunt, way too strong, way too aggressive, way too sensitive. Yeah, so that's what has really been going on. So then there's that. And then the thing is with Korea is that when you're here, you're so isolated from like everyone who you know from back home, of course. So I don't have my family here, I don't have my friends here. You make new friends, and if you're lucky, some of your friends will, you know, kind of like understand what you're going through, empathize with you, maybe even stick up for you. They might even be going through it themselves, so you'll be able to relate. And if you're not lucky, then you'll just be alone. I've been very lucky to have good friends come into my life for the past 2 years, and some of them have gone home and I've made new ones, and sometimes have been lonelier than others. But it's still been a struggle, and it's really difficult, especially if most of your friends are Korean. So a lot of my friends prior to moving to where I am now were Korean, just because of where I lived, but now a lot of my friends are foreigners. And the biggest thing was that people who were born in Korea and live in Korea can't understand necessarily always why you are annoyed about certain things, despite it being like your legal rights. It's like I said, it's a cultural thing. So you might have a friend who's the same age as you who's Korean, and they might also be getting exploited in the same way, but they won't say anything because in their culture you don't say anything. You never question your institution, you never question your boss, and that can lead to frustrations in your friendship that ultimately can fracture your friendship. And if you are lucky enough to stick up for yourself and get better for yourself, then sometimes that can lead to like resentment in your friendship, because they then think, well, why does this person get it and I don't get it, and they're not even Korean and they're in my country. And so that can be really difficult as well. Yeah, so basically what Korea has done to my mental health right now, and I know it's gonna get better. I know that you know, this is probably a combination I know that this is probably a combination of it being really okay, let's go. So I also know that this is probably a combination of being of it being winter and it being very cold and dark all the time, a combination of me settling into new surroundings, a combination of being incredibly homesick. I miss my family, I miss my friends, I miss my home city, I just miss everything and everyone. And then I've had people come and visit me recently, and I can tell you that having to say goodbye doesn't ever get easier. So I know that things are going to get better, but at the same time, I've just been in a situation recently that's caused me to like question my own character, my own like, almost like I was very firm in who I was before and very confident that I was a decent human being, and then I've just been going through this daily battle where my spirit has been like crushed every single day a little bit more, and that's been really, really difficult. And like I said, I'm lucky I have great friends. I've got church friends who I can feel who are praying for me every day. I've got friends at my workplace who I know are just lovely and will basically defend me, and I've not really had many people do that for me in my life, so that feels really great. But in general, it's been really difficult, and I've been putting these self-care practices into play to try and make things difficult, to try and make things less difficult, but ultimately it is difficult. This is a very difficult season for me. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's been a very difficult season for me, mental health wise. I found every day kind of being a struggle to get out of bed, picking up bad habits again. Definitely like haven't been eating that well, haven't been doing what I should do, even with like water intake, something as simple as that. Haven't been intaking as much water as I should. It's just been really, really, really difficult. You don't want to complain to people back home because you don't want them to worry, but you also don't want them to be like, well, we told you so. Because at the end of the day, I don't regret coming to Korea one bit. I've had such an amazing time overall, and the good times have been good, but I do think that the bad times have been less frequent, but they have been really big. You know, it's not like, oh no, I failed an exam and now I need to resit, or I lost my key, or something small like that. It's been like the roof is caving in on my head, the apartment's flooded with sewage, I haven't been paid, you know, that kind of thing. And if you want to know about the work situation, I'm gonna link the videos talking about that down below. There's 2 parts and they're both really long. It's me and a friend of mine talking about our nightmare work experience, but also just like the daily racism, the staring, the touching of the hair. It's a lot, guys. Like, it's a lot, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to be in Korea, because I'm genuinely having that much of a hard time, and it seems to be a cultural thing more than a situational thing. I just, I think things would be easier if my friends were here from back home, or it was somewhere closer that I could like pop backwards and forwards to London, but it's not. And then on top of that, the work environment here is created in a way that's so toxic. Like, I get 10 days vacation for the entire year, and it's not even like I can't even choose when that vacation is. So I miss like everything. I miss Christmas, I miss birthdays. Life is just going by. Your parents get older, your siblings get older, and you don't get to see them. It's just really difficult, and there's just not a lot of empathy in this country. For example, in my last place, my friend's father passed away during the winter, and she wasn't allowed to return home to be with her family. And then recently, another friend of mine, her grandfather passed away, and she also had a very difficult time being able to just go home and grieve with her family. There were restrictions on when she could go and for how long, and it just puts everything into perspective. Like, if you're not able to even get time to go and be with your family during a death, then there's not a chance that I'll be able to go home to be with my family just so I can mentally recoup, because I miss them so much, and I genuinely need to be around them. And I feel really isolated out here, and I'm lucky. I have friends coming left, right and centre. My mom and sister left in December. I have a friend who just left yesterday, which is amazing. Thank you, Joe. And I've got a friend coming next week, Tuesday. They fly on Monday, they get here on Tuesday. So I love the fact that I can call my friends and say I'm really struggling, and they'll be here for me if they can. But Korea is just taking a toll. Yeah. And some of you are following me because you're thinking of coming to Korea, and I'm not going to say don't do it. I did it and I loved it for the most part, but I think if I had known what I know then, I would have left Korea probably last year instead of doing another year, or maybe I would have left after the first year and left on a high. But anyway, I want to say all this to say that this is going to tie up that chapter of my life where I'm focused on talking about expat life, where I'm focused on talking about ESL and fashion and all that stuff. I said it at the beginning of the year, that's just not authentically me, and I think that is part of the reason why I'm really struggling right now, that I feel like the mask has slipped and I need to get back to who I really am. And it's good because I know who I really am. I've done all that work, and I want to take you guys on a journey over the next 6 months while I prepare to figure out what I'm going to do after teaching ESL in Korea, whether that will be some new field in Korea or whether it will be going home. I actually don't know yet. Join me figuring that out. And I also wanted to share with you my self-care journey. My self-care is what's going to get me through this hard time. I'm very confident that I'll get through this hard time, but it's going to be that gets me through. And I guess this is just, I could get on here every week and I could pretend for 20 minutes that everything is perfect and I'm sharing these tips with you because I've got everything under control and I just want to help, or I can genuinely show you how I manage my self-care, how I manage my anxiety, how I manage being an expat and dealing with some of these intense pressures, and you can see it firsthand, and we can grow a community of people who feel free to be themselves 100%, feel free to share, feel free to guide, and basically take a journey to a completely healthy, mindful lifestyle. Okay, so this video really is just me screaming into the void. Don't know if any of y'all really care to sit through it. Don't know if this video is really necessary, but next week I am coming back with consistent content. So that's going to be the start of my weekly content resuming, and it's going to be all about self-care, self-development, self-improvement, mental health. You know, not only is this my passion, but this is also my life. Like, I'm not in a good space, and I want to show you how I claw myself out of these spaces, and share with you what I've learned on my journey, share with you some of my life, share with you some of my past, my present, and hopefully the future if you subscribe. But yeah, so yeah, I think I'm gonna go and snuggle up with, well, I have to take my makeup off first, but I'm gonna go and snuggle up with Brockhampton, and yeah, thank you so much for tuning into this video. I hope you made it to the end. I hope you felt it wasn't a complete waste of your time. I hope you subscribe and click the notification bell for next week's video, and I hope I see you again when I'm in a better mood. Okay, love you guys.